Welcome into the Nickel City Crew. I am your host, Rob Crippen. Please like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Nickel City Crew. This episode, along with all of our episodes, are presented by Crippen Legacy Entertainment here on Spreaker. We're so glad that you're joining us for some of your Buffalo Bills and NFL content again today. And as always, these are my Bills thoughts said out loud. All right, let's get straight to it. Week 3 NFL. This is the Nickel City Crew first ever post-game show. Welcome in. I'm glad to have in tonight, as always, Adam Dump Truck Rupsick, my esteemed co-host. Adam, what's up, man? Say what's up to the people, man. Holla at us.
What's up, Nickel City Crew? Nickel City Crew. Another week, tough one. Tough losses we're gonna dig into, but that's the NFL. That's the NFL, man. And we knew a lot of concerns going into this game, but I think we'll get into tonight about how those concerns really weren't why we lost. So it'll be interesting to dig in a little tonight, but hey,
let's dig in.
That's the NFL for you.
Man,
you can't blow everybody out in this league.
My son, DT, my middle son, literally at the game, as the game ended, and Isaiah McKenzie is rushing back to the line of scrimmage to try to give the football to the referee. He slams the football down in frustration, and it knocks over my water, and it spills behind the couch. And, I didn't even get mad. And he starts crying, and I just told him, again, Bills Mafia, Nickel City Crew. We were never going 17-0. I tried to tell you guys that. I tried to warn you guys of that. We were never going 17-0. We were never going 16-1. Probably not 15-2, 14-3, 13-4. Now we can start talking. But like a realistic season is not perfect. You're not going to blow everybody out like we have the first 2 weeks against the Rams and against last week against the Titans. It's just not. That's just not how the league goes. 13 players by my count, DT, went out of this game and left this game. It was a literal skeleton of an O-line by the time that it was all said and done. 3 offensive linemen on the right side, from the center on to the right, all replacements. I think that we got to the backup center, DT. Like, this shit was crazy. Like, listen, the Bills endured some injuries down there in the hot heat, and I don't know if you want to attribute it to that or not. I don't think that the cornerbacks lost us this game, DT. I mean, rapid fire, just my thoughts. I'm not putting this loss on the secondary. I'm really not.
Heck no. I mean, defensively, 180 yards from Tua, 13 completions. 13 completions and 42 rushing yards as a team. The Dolphins had 42 rushing yards and 13 completions. The defense did their job.
Yeah.
The defense did their job. You can accredit that 3rd and 22 bomb to Waddle.
Right.
But everybody all week was expecting 2 or 3 of those,
Right.
Everybody all week was expecting 2 or 3 of those bombs. Tyreek Hill, 2 catches, 33 yards.
Yeah.
The secondary did not cost them this game by any means. They contained what they needed to contain. Some missed opportunities. Matt Milano dropped pick 6 and 2 in 2 games. That would have been obviously a game changer. And that 3rd and 22. But other than that, contain the Miami defense like they could. And, offensively we couldn't score. Josh Allen had the most completions he's ever had. And 19 points on the board. I mean, if you had to pick, Rob, this week, if I asked you, Josh Allen's going to throw for the most completions he's ever thrown, how many points are the Bills scoring?
52
You'd say 50.
or so.
Yeah, 60.
Yeah, 52 or
college,
so, maybe
65.
Yeah, maybe
so
63
that's
points.
That's what it is. But that's why it's the NFL. That's why it's the NFL. It's when you're having a bad day, you may get exposed, and I wouldn't, I don't want to credit a bad day, but you can't make sloppy decisions down the stretch, and we'll get into that.
Yeah, we will get into it because Josh Allen, as you alluded to, 42 of 63, 400 yards on the dot. That's only 6.3 an average of completion and 2 touchdowns, obviously. It was tough sledding for the offense, to be honest. I mean, as much as the numbers look pretty at the end of the game, they really were having a tough time. It seemed like the pressure from the Dolphins defense, like they literally were committed to blitzing. They were going to go down with the ship, so to speak, and they were going to blitz. That's who they are, and they sent pressure consistently, DT, at Josh Allen, and he looked kind of like flustered at certain points. He did not look comfortable. Now, I'm not going to say that he was scared or anything like that. I'm trying to say that the pressure of the Miami Dolphins defensive line, I think that he was thinking about it more than looking downfield at certain plays, and I think you could see it in his play.
100%. I mean, the face was redder than I've ever seen it, for 17.
Yeah,
I
he
mean,
looked like an
granted,
apple, yeah.
the heat and everything in between, but no, credit to that Dolphins defense. They were up in him from start to finish, and he was never comfortable. And like you said, kind of a makeshift line, people in there, in and out. But literally, a practice squad center comes in for the second
Yeah,
half. And, 17 still did what he had to do. He was rushing for first downs. He got a few throws, but, a perfect game, right? And you almost needed a perfect game, as crazy as that sounds. Catch to Gabriel Davis is a touchdown, changes the whole game. Obviously, the fourth down, low ball to Isaiah McKenzie. And, what is
yeah,
it, 4th and 6 when they kick the field goal. So, eh, opportunity where back a couple of years ago when you're trading field goals for touchdowns with KC, it's not even like you were doing that in this game, but the offenses, they stalled
they
in
couldn't get
way
in,
too many
man.
times. Yeah,
Yeah, they
way
couldn't
too
get in.
many
We
times.
had a missed field goal. I was wondering if it was some Ace Ventura shit going on, and it was it Finkel and Einhorn, and were the laces in, and the replay was nice and clear, and no, the laces were out. I don't even understand how Bass missed that kick. You know what I mean? So like, there's just a lot going on in this game that made. I mean, it was 90, felt like 100 degrees. They said down there on the field, like our guys are dropping like flies. I don't.
Flies
I
dropping
mean,
everybody, everywhere.
I don't
Stefan
get it.
Diggs was literally had to lay on the ground completely flat after every play. It
it's
was
It's wild, man. Listen, the game, the way that it unfolded as we approached that fourth quarter, I was very sure that we were going to win it. You know what I mean? Even as my son was watching
mhm,
it with me and he's looking at me and I'm like, well, we're going to win the game. It might just come down to who has the ball last. And then once we had that nice defensive stand, and then, I was convinced as we got and we approached Miami territory, excuse me, that we were going to win the game. Like there was no doubt in my mind. And as the clock was bleeding, you know, it was unfortunate when we got turned over on downs and then we got the ball right back. Like we got it right back. So like I thought that we were going to win the game the entire time, DT, up until like I literally until it said zeros, I thought we were going to win the game. I thought Tyler Bass was going to try out there on the field and have redemption and kick the game winning field goal. And it just didn't work that way.
I was 100% confident in the entire one. And, watching the game and the live game and had some buddies over for the game. And, there was some negativity around the house. Obviously it's
Mhm.
just not what we're used to in this early season of not seeing this offense stall and not seeing 17 a little flustered. And, that's what it was, start to finish. And it was just, they had to fight for everything they got today. And, again, credit to the Dolphins. I hated to see them coming out. I thought this could be a nice statement game, even with the injured Bills team. You're not going to beat us, but the injuries, on the defensive end, probably, did Poyer and Hyde let that catch in? Who knows, right? But probably not. But you can't blame it on the D as we talked. This offense is, stalled, but I was confident 17. You keep giving them chances, get it done. And, that's the next step. He needs to take these close games. Now it's a trend now. These close games, they can't win. It's way back to the COVID year before they were winning one score games again. And so it, you don't want to say it's a new season, it's a new deal, but that's a thing now. That's lurking. Close games are tough for this team to win and tough for Josh Allen to win.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to escape it. 212 yards total for the Miami Dolphins offense. Only 21 points to show for it. I mean, literally 7 of those came from that Josh Allen fumble in the first half, where it's the strip sack and picked up by Melvin Ingram. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I never looked at this game like the Bills were the worst team. I always
No.
thought that we were the better team, and it's just shitty the way that it kind of played out because
What on that drive though? That goes back. Talk about setting the trend early. That got Miami right into that game, and that energy, through that whole
Mhm,
team right there is they went 2 runs. Zach Moss. I mean, granted, he saved himself at the end with that 40-yard run, but 2 runs Zach Moss for negative yards, and then a complete jailhouse break blitz on Josh Allen to fumble on third down. So that was also a crucial drive that gave Miami a touchdown after the Bills D had that early stop. Who knows when the Bills get rolling, get up a nice comfortable lead, whole game changes. Now it's 7-7 early on with a wasted drive, 2 runs and that fumble. That's crucial as well. That's
mhm.
the NFL. Game of inches, game of series, and even though it was the first quarter and they still had a ton more opportunities as that game
Football
went
left,
on,
yeah. That
That
kind of set
first
the
drive,
stage.
you know,
Yeah.
that second drive was big.
Yeah, it's kinda set the stage for the game, and it was just kind of a weird it was just weird, to be honest. It was a weird day down there in South Florida. I kinda warned Bills Mafia of not of this particular game, but just to making sure that we manage expectations. Anybody that thought that we were going 17-0, 16-1, you are living up in the clouds. Like, it's not like that. Like, remember Jacksonville? Remember how weird of a day that felt, like, after the game? Like, how in the hell did we lose that game? As my father would say, "I'm in the ham sandwich. What did we do? Like, how did we lose that game 9-6?" Like, today's game feels eerily similar. I thought we were the better team. I was completely confident that we were going to win the game, and it just seemed like there was just less and less time on the clock. And I was so fortunate, and I felt so fortunate for us to get that ball back, like I said, late in the game after that last stop for the defense, and we still couldn't get it done. So at this point in time, you look at the Bills. I mean, I've got as much confidence as I have in them coming into this game. Miami is technically now the AFC East leader in the division, and we've got it. I mean, listen, Baltimore had a crazy amount of injuries last year, and it's not normal. It was an anomaly. I've got to give credence to the fact that we as Bills fans have been spoiled by health. I think it's something that we have taken for granted because it has not been at our front door. Health in the NFL is almost as important as anything else. It's almost as important as coaching and scheme and luck, which you have to sprinkle in because you need luck to win a championship. We have been a healthy football team for the better part of Sean McDermott's tenure as head coach here. I don't know if you want to blame it on the actual strength and conditioning staff at Pro Sports and the new facility, which is so wonderful and beautiful. I don't know what you want to contribute it to. I know that Bills fans, Bills Mafia, Nickel City Crew, we have been spoiled by health. It is not normal for the Buffalo Bills, a team, to be as healthy as we have been these last few years. And maybe it's just kind of the coin flipping, DT. I don't know. Not trying to wish, we knock on wood for our players. I mean, but come on, man. We've been unreasonably healthy throughout this run.
Unheard of healthy, and
Yeah, man.
and and that's what it comes down to from the beginning of time in football. It's healthy teams and go deep. And as much as with the injuries, the with especially on the defensive end today, health did play a role. You have your starters in. There's a different swagger, different vibe all the way around. Maybe helps the offense, but yeah, with that it was like 4 or 5 minutes left in the third quarter. Three
Mhm.
Bills linemen were down. Josh was basically down on his knees getting water, and it was like, man, they got a whole nother quarter to go, and
Yeah.
are already down to second string in most areas. So, with all that adversity and everything behind them, still have a chance to win, down the stretch. But yeah, as you said, we have been unheard of healthy. No team, I think they were like, it was crazy. They went weeks on weeks without anybody on the injury report for multiple times. And, it shows there, and tough schedule coming up as well. But next man up mentality. And, we'll see what these guys can do. Draft and develop. That's Bean's main deal. And
Yeah.
all week, that's what I was
Yeah.
kind of defending as people were concerned a lot about the defense. I was defending them all week on draft and develop, draft and
I'll still
develop. And
defend them. I think that the D did
here we
fine
go.
today. I'm still
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
defend them on that.
Heck
Listen,
yeah. But
I
that's what
mean,
I'm saying moving forward, right? These guys got to step up into these roles, and they're on the team for a reason. You got to have trust in Bean and McDermott to get them ready.
yeah, I mean, the O-line, I guess, DT was not what I was expecting. Like, I was not expecting the O-line to be decimated the way it was. A
Yeah.
backup center, a backup right guard, and a backup right tackle. That's not really in the game plan of what you're thinking about. The only starters that we had left were Dawkins and Saffold on the left side. So, I mean, it is what it is. Like you said, it's a war of attrition. I think that the NFL kind of it proves it year in and year out. Look at all the guys, Taylor Lewan, and all these different guys that are going out for the year and different things like that. The NFL will chew you up and it'll spit you out in respects to injuries. So you better have depth. You better find a way to have that next man up mentality, and it's going to be tested. Lamar Jackson, as we record this on Sunday afternoon, we're deep in the getting ready in the middle of the first 4 o'clock games. I mean, Lamar Jackson 5 touchdowns today, 4 passing, 1 running. Like, Baltimore on the road does not get easier, which is why I specifically wanted to go over those first 7 games. I wanted to talk about them. The order really doesn't matter. The order of which the losses come in don't really matter. I said, what will we look like and how will we feel about the Bills after 4-3 after the first 7 games? Now, you laughed at me. You told me to stay the hell away from 3-4. Don't ever say that again. And you had us at 5-2 or 6-1. So listen, I'm all for it. I do feel confident about the Bills. They have not. I don't feel any differently about them after this game in a negative way. I just feel like we've been kind of lucky. And if we've got to take a bite of humble pie when it comes to injuries, I mean, then we could just be like any other team in respects that like it's hard when you don't have your guys. As long as we have 17, we have a fighting chance. But as you
Yeah.
saw, doesn't mean you're going to win. You do need your guys out there, and injuries do mean something. That's why the starters are the starters.
And that's why you pay 17 hundreds of millions of dollars. You look at the greats in history of, recently Brady, Rogers have willed their teams to win when they get the injury bug and things have not gone their way. These great quarterbacks in history will their teams to win because the going isn't always great. We pay this guy hundreds of millions of dollars to get it done no matter what, and he knows
Yeah.
that, and he's ready to go for that. I don't question that by any means when I say that, but that's what it comes down to. You don't get it all laid out on a platter for you. As much as those first two games kind of look like it was going to be, you got to fight for wins in this league, and
Hmm.
that's what it is, straight up. And 17 knows that, and he's ready for that. And yet he was out there competing till the very end today. He knew that game was in his hands multiple times and let it go. And hopefully he takes that personally and gets that dog even bigger in him. And this team uses this as a lesson, as the cliche. We needed to lose to know how it felt to not do it again. As whatever you want to use for motivation. But 17 knows it's in his hands, and he could have won that game multiple times in his hands.
Here's the concerning part that I have, DT, and this is the only thing that I'll take away as we wrap up. I know that you've got other stuff going on as well, and this is just a little trial run. We are going to be YouTube live next week after the Baltimore game. I'm just working out the kinks. I was almost ready to go today, and then I didn't know that YouTube Live has a kind of trial period. So once we're ready to go with YouTube Live next week, we want to interact with you guys, Nickel City Crew, Bills Mafia. The one thing that concerns me, DT, and I agree with everything you just said, is that Houston in the playoffs, and then other tight games that we've had, and I understand we won. We beat the Colts, and that was kind of a tight game. The Colts were trying to come back, but like literally the close ones, the Chiefs, and just some of these close games, it's a kind of it's starting to become not even a Josh Allen thing. It's starting to become a Buffalo Bills thing, under Sean McDermott and his regime. What are you doing when the game is tight? Is everybody on the same page? Is everybody executing to the same standard? Was Zeke supposed to run out of bounds straight away when he was starting to run toward the sideline? When he started running toward the sideline, I thought he was going on his sprint mode and he was going to just go straight, beeline straight. And whatever the field goal distance it was, it was. He tried to make a move, cut inside. All of a sudden, he's tackled inbounds. Now, Zeke had a great game. I'm not trying to blame him. I love him. I'm just trying to say, does everybody, when they break the huddle, understand in those tight situations what the hell is going on? Because 13 seconds was a complete disaster in respects to communication. It wasn't necessarily about execution, which is really what's pissed off some of the fans, because the players can only do what they're told to do. So they didn't execute the wrong defense. They just got called into the wrong defense. They didn't, hit the ball. They just, either weren't communicated not to hit the ball through the fucking end zone. So like, I don't know. I'm trying to chill, and I'm just saying, late games, they've been doing some things and it's been repetitive, and that kind of worries me
Yeah.
when it comes to communication.
Yeah, it like I said earlier, it's a trend, and trend is it's there. Stats don't lie sometimes, and trends don't lie. But I think today, off the top of my head now, is that was execute on the execution side. I think they were trying to force their hand in the way, and it was a little wake up call to them that they couldn't force their hand like they did in the first two games.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
at the end, you see Ken Dorsey going ballistic in the booth. Josh Allen, definitely upset. Like, I think they knew what they were trying to do. They just couldn't do it, and
Yeah.
that kind of pissed them off, and rightfully so. And so I think it was definitely execution more on today's game. It looked like they were where they needed to be. It just everything they did, they just couldn't get anything easy, and they were trying to force their hand. I think more than they were comfortable doing.
Yeah. It was interesting. It was an interesting game. And as we kind of, we'll have an episode. Our normal episode will be this coming up Tuesday. We release, as always, record on Monday nights. And I can't wait for that. But as we wrap up tonight, I just want to kind of keep everything in perspective. I've tried to do that. throughout the offseason. I am so ready for the games to be here because this is what I live for, the games and the execution, and then talking about it and kind of breaking it down, just analyzing all of it, the minutia. Today was a tough day for the Bills. I am very confident. I'm holding my head up high as a Bills fan today because of the injuries. And then my Miami Dolphin friends and stuff like that have been texting me and like, stop making excuses. I'm like, listen, excuses are one thing, but like reasons are reasons. And like what happened happened, and our secondary was depleted. Again, I don't put the loss on them. I think that they played admirably for sure. 21 points, 212 yards. I'll take that all day long with our offense. And honestly, the offensive line being so in shambles, it affected the game. The game starts in the trenches. It sounds so cliche. McDermott says it. I've heard you say it. I've heard my dad say it. I've heard the uncle say it. Football coach. Everybody talks about it being in the trenches and it starting there. It's not a lie. I'm sorry. Football is a physical game. I help coach my son's teams for their little 10U and 8U teams, and it really does start in the trenches. If we can't block, then we can't do anything really on the offense. And it was a tough day at the office for the O-line, DT.
And you look back as well when the good quarterbacks go down, the Bradys, the Peyton Mannings, the Aaron
Mhm,
Rodgers of the world, it's when
mhm,
the other team is up in their
mhm.
face.
That's right.
Patrick Mahomes in the
That's
Super Bowl
right.
2 years ago, the Bucks
Yep,
were up in his face, and that's,
yep.
what the
The
Dolphins were all day today on Josh. They took advantage of that depleted line, and you got to protect the merchandise. You got to let your best player on the field make plays,
Yeah.
and he wasn't able to get comfortable. And with something like that still being in the game down the stretch, and maybe look and take one glass half full out of this whole game is
Mhm.
down the stretch with all that, you still got a chance to win the game, but we got to change. They got to change the narrative. They got to change
Yeah.
the narrative of these one score games. And that's 17. Take that as your next step to becoming elite. Of that, you're gradually improving in a lot of aspects. Take this one, start winning some close games.
Yeah, I gotta win them Tennessee last year. There's just a little bit of a trend. I'm not gonna go crazy. We'll talk about it more on this week's show for sure. Nickel City Crew. As always, I really appreciate you guys joining me tonight. DT, thank you for taking time out of your Sunday schedule for sure. Enjoy the 4 o'clock games and enjoy the night game as well. I know you got to run some errands, but I mean, I'm excited. I have not lost any hope. As I said, I thought that we'd be 2-2 after Baltimore. I'm not trying to preach any pessimism. I'm just trying to keep everything in perspective. Baltimore is a good team. I told you they were a good team. What Miami did last week was kind of flukish. They came out today, played a completely different game. Tyreek Hill was not a factor. Jalen Waddle got off just a little bit, but not really. And we came out on the wrong end. So this is the NFL. It's a tough league. We got to stay sharp, and hopefully Bills Mafia, Nickel City Crew, you guys kind of keep everything in perspective. We got to stay sharp. You got to root for health because it really does make a difference in this league. As always, these were my Bills thoughts said out loud. Please spread love, not hate. And as always, go Bills. Hit them with the go Bills, DT.
Go,
Listen, the
go
sky's
Bills.
not
We all
falling. I
right.
mean, what y'all
We
want,
all
man?
right. Go
They want you
Bills.
want a
We all
17
right.
to know.
We're all right. We're all
We
right. Go
good,
Bills,
baby.
baby. Go
Go
Bills. We
Bills,
on to
man.
next on to Baltimore.
Oh man, let's go get some crab cakes.